Right, so I made a start on the 41 Kubelwagen. I had a good look round it, tried to decide where to start and decided it's all pretty much as bad as everything else, so start on the front end. Right, we had to remove the hooks because they were wrong. So there what was on it. Clearly you can see they've been cut off, welded. So there's different types. Lucky Darren got two original 1941 because they're different as they go through the years.
Yeah.
You got earlier than 41, then later, which they have a bar, like a bumper bar across between them. So we've got two new ones of those. They go in here. Okay. And they get riveted through. Now these chassis legs were completely knackered, bent, dented, so I cut them off, hammered them out the best we can, welded those back on. So this is then trying to square everything up in the front because it can all move around everywhere. So what we had, that's what I had to go by. So that basically is the end of one of those, yeah? So we know we've got to make a front cross member. So by putting the front panel on, you can set, because it has to line up for where your wing line comes down, that has to line up with that. Okay?
Yeah.
So you make your cross member. I set it all up, jigged it all up. I've made the cross member yesterday. So I fabricated that yesterday. Okay? So that's our cross member. You can see how too much wide the chassis rails are.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay, so I fabricated all that yesterday. We had these pieces, they're the strengtheners. This piece here takes your skid pan, but I wasn't sure because when we had that is that basically replicates that, look, that corner of it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so having that captive nut there, see that I've looked online and the ones that they sell, this piece, from what I can make out, is welded to this. But being a 41, which is very early, possibly that is, I can't see any reason to have a captive nut there. So I made that bolt on with the captive nuts, but we can change that if it's wrong. I'll ask Darren. I only got to undo these bolts, weld it on, fill it all up and clean it all out, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's basically where I started. So I've put that front panel on it, yeah, squared that up. That gives me a dimension on there for your cross member, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we can bolt our cross member in, which when it gets fitted originally will be riveted on. So what I've done is make it bolt on for the time being. I found it to be a little bit too narrow, so I've made a couple of spacers to go in. This is where you've got to get everything done underneath this front panel before you can even begin, yeah? Basically, once you put that top on, it's like putting the lid on a pie. You can't get into it unless you chop it all up again, you know? Obviously all of this, everything here has all got to be dismantled, repaired, and before we put the top back on. I mean, these shouldn't be in here, so what I can do at a later date is just widen everything out. Obviously I've got to finish welding the chassis legs and stuff, but until I can get it somewhere where I know it's all actually going to go together, you're wasting your time, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, so let's nip all that up. Like I say, your hooks go on the inside of the chassis legs and then you rivet the whole lot together so it can't move, yeah? Right, so that, just by doing that, look, strengthens it all up and massively, yeah. So obviously where those bolts are, they get riveted on there. So once I've got it all set up, I can then cut the holes in the front panel.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that yet till I'm happy with its all of its alignment, yeah. So let's get some grips on her to tighten it all up. Now this panel, when we got it, the distance from there to there was too long, so I've had to cut that down. So then we know that that should line up with that there. So just by giving it a little shove, little push, little shove, yeah. And I can put a little tack on that to hold it. A little bit too narrow there, but only a little bit, so that's fine. So I'm happy with that, how that's squared up, yeah?
Yeah.
So when it all gets put together, you've got spot weld all the way up there, spot weld all the way up there. Now that is the end of your front wing. So you had a whole front wing there, look. And all we've done is cut that little piece off the nose.
Yeah.
Because he wants to keep as much of the 41 as you can, yeah? So that will then splice into there, yeah?
Mm.
So you put a cut, you've left an inch underneath, yeah? So you just cut it through here and you can weld it all in then. See, that's touching there, daylight there, and it's touching there, so all this has got to be pulled up. This will have a bend on it, but you can push that down. See how bent that panel is?
Yeah.
So by the time that's all pushed down in the middle and spot welded in, because you'll never do a pressing out of a flat sheet of metal with this much pattern in it without it bending, basically. It's working out the order to do all of this front end, because you have to cut a hole in here, so when they're riveted on, you can't rivet that on with that on.
No.
So you have to rivet that first, yeah? Then you've got to probably, I think, take, or once the hole's marked, because you can't rivet them on with the top panel on. So you're going to have to take those rings off. It must be that way up. Okay? So they go on there with rubber behind them and they're riveted to the front panel. But you can't get them on without taking those rings off the hooks, and you can slide them on that way, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's an easy enough fix. This has got to disappear. So I've got to get rid of that, because they don't make, a 1941 shouldn't have that raised piece on it.
Right.
So that has to come off.
So that is that repro part a for 41, or is it one part they use for 41, 42, 43?
They were used it, they've made, because there's so many more later ones than there are early ones, they've made the easiest they can for themselves. I think that's the gist of it, you know. This made, wants to try and put the original on it, which is that.
See better days.
It has had a bit of work, that one.
Is it a colander or something? Or what?
Yeah, doily. But what I'll do is, there's absolutely no point in putting that on, it's not physically doing anything, so we'll use this one and I'll do what I can with that and put it over the top of it.
Okay.
That's all you can do. Right, so that's basically that. Just leave it all loose for the moment, 'cause it's all got to come off. But you can see, once I've repaired it, it doesn't take long to come together.
No, not at all.
A little bit of welding there, once that's spliced, spot weld all of that in, square it all up. Like I say, you've got to put the top hat on first. So the jerry can holder, I might have to actually weld that instead of spot welding it at the moment, because the spot welds are going to be here, where that jerry can holder was. Yeah?
So that jerry can holder is accessed from the inside of the vehicle?
Yeah,
right.
Just straight from the inside of the vehicle. So that lot obviously goes where that dent is there.
Yeah.
So all of this has got to be unpicked, re-welded. Yeah, I'm not really too sure at the moment. He sent me a lot of pictures of all of this down, so it's got water drain there. So yeah, I've just got to go unpick all of this. We've got new ones of these, so get it all apart. That goes on there, but clearly you're going to have to spot weld that to that before you fit that front panel. Once the two wings are spliced in and welded, nothing to stop that all going together.
Right.
I've got to put the petrol filler neck on it. I need to look and see. That's clearly riveted on. That's the no-tech light, which is like a blackout lamp, German blackout lamp. Okay, so we've got a pattern for that there. We know that it doesn't want to use this one because it's an original, so we've got a black one there I can cut. So that goes in there, yeah. That reinforcing plate goes underneath it somewhere, but I've got pictures of it all. This is for your windscreen wiper wires to come out. And when we took it all apart, that's all the dimensions of where that goes. That's the dimensions for the holes for the windscreen hold down clip. So he goes somewhere in there. So when your windscreen folds down, it clips into here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Later ones had two, the early ones only had one, from what I can muster. So you've got to get all of those little bits and pieces. I don't know whether they're captive nuts underneath or whether it's just bolted through. Yeah. You might as well get it as right as you can. But I can see there's an upturned picture of one of these with all the fittings on it. So I know where everything will go, whether it was spot welded, captive nutted, you know, however it's assembled.
Yeah, it's before you get that, before you do those bits, you need to know that's the
you've got to sit down. Oh, what I'll do is sit down with a piece of paper and take notes of it all. Like I was saying to you earlier, you could assemble this body on a dead perfect jig, absolutely flat as you like. You put it on that chassis, it won't fit.
Yeah.
So you've got to work with around as it is, you know. We know now, chassis rails lined up, yeah?
Yeah.
To the edge of there. Can't do any more than that. It's clipped on, you can see where I've made the cross member, so that can all be spot welded on. But see, that's another thing. That's where you need your long arms on the spot welder, because this cross member is riveted to that.
Yeah.
Very easy to get to the bottom ones, but the top ones you've got to get right in there, you know. Yeah. Again, do you do that first? Do you do it afterwards? Before you put this in, you've got to sit down and work out how it all actually physically works, you know.
Well, not just that, the order of which you do it in as well.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. You can do this in sort of sections, yeah, because that isn't letting in as you want it to. We cut this piece first to there, and we can get that in where we want it properly, yeah?
Yeah.
Remove that, it's going to go everywhere. Wear your safety glasses. Right, Phil? I know I've got about an inch there, so if I go a quarter of an inch will be fine, it doesn't matter. I know that's my cut line, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Reach through to the inside. Right, so we've got 1 millimetre, or not even 1 millimetre of thickness left on that, but that should let us in there correctly. So you can see that's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So all you do is you get it to where you think it's going to fit properly. Okay?
Yeah.
So, because best will in the world, that ain't the same shape as that.
No.
Never will be. You can see where the original fold line was and all sorts of things. It's just, everything's bent. It's as simple as that. So that'll go up to there, look. And back up. I'm happy with that. I know it doesn't line up, but until you get all of this cut in, okay?
So don't lose the faith.
Yeah. So it's all a bit hit and miss, but hey, you've got a welder, haven't you? So that'll keep that in line. We can just buzz down there now. Because see that, where that's bent, look, I put a bit of weld there to hold that in.
Yeah.
So I'll have to do that again later on, but for what we're doing at the moment, it doesn't make the slightest bit of difference. So that's the basis of where that's going to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can push that up and down, you can move it all around, jiggle it all around, do what you like with it. But that's basically where that goes, you see. I know that is ready to be welded in at some point, but you know, you've got to work out all the rest of it first.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind the rest of the car's extremely bent. That's pretty good. That's fine. So I can do all that. There'll be no filler in that at all. That'll all be metal finish. You won't see the joint at all. So like I say, it's now take it all apart again, repair everything inside that.
Yeah.
Because that's basically my next step. There's another strap to go back in for the petrol tank. I think that there, that's been cut out. Can't remember whether there's one there or not. That's your steering column support. So where I had all the dimensions for that, yeah, that bit is that bit there, look. So we know, measure that, blah, 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 blah. That can be riveted on. Centre screen thing can be done on. This can be repaired. No tech light can go on. Fuel filler neck can go on. So you get all of that prepared and ready to go. I can splice that other one in, and then it's just finally assembling it all and spot welding it all together. Ugh. It's horrible.